What we have here in front of us today is a Lenovo M10 tablet, model number TB-X505F, that came in for a broken glass repair. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you how you can replace the glass, the front glass on your tablet, and how you can do it for cheap. Now, one of the things I want to mention is the reason why these are very easy to replace is because there is no adhesive between the front glass and the LCD underneath. Normally on a phone, I'll show you a phone for example. Let's say for example if you've got a phone like this. Normally on a phone, between the front glass and the LCD which is underneath, there is a thin layer of adhesive, and that adhesive is very difficult to take off. It can be a nightmare actually. But as I say, on these there is no adhesive between the glass and the LCD underneath, so it's quite a simple repair. One thing you need to be aware of, there is some adhesive around the frame. So around the frame, that goes around here, comes around here and comes around here, there is a bit of adhesive. There's two ways you can remove that adhesive. One is either you can use a heat gun, okay, and you can gently go around the edges, heat them up, and eventually you should be able to just slowly get something like this, right, and get underneath there, and you should be able to just wedge that off slowly as you come around. But be careful, because on one of these sides is the ribbon for the LCD, so you need to be a bit careful of that. So before we go any further, what I want to do is I want to show you how and where you can locate the glass for this online and where you can purchase it from, and then we'll come back and we'll start taking it all apart, and we'll show you how it goes. To find this screen is quite easy. If you just open up a Google page, right, and if you type in, if let's say we just go to eBay for example, right, now if we get onto eBay, if you type in Lenovo, if you type in Lenovo M10 front glass, right, then what will happen is you'll get a list. Can you see them here? Look, they've already come up. Make sure that you match the model number, because some of them are a bit different. So if you have a look here, there's one here, X505L. Ours is X505F. So this one should be fine for ours. So if we go into here, to give you an idea of what you're looking for, if you can see here, there's only a little bit of adhesive that goes around the sides on the top. So there's no adhesive between the glass and the LCD. And on the back side, you've got one cable that comes out for the digitizer, and that connects into the back of the PCB. The good thing about this is this cable here is not soldered in. It's just a little connector that you basically pop off. So I'm going to show you all that now. So if you have a look here, there's quite a few different ones, and there's different prices. Make sure you get the glass with the digitizer, not just the front glass only by itself. I'm pretty sure most of them do come with the digitizer, but you got to be careful that you have got the digitizer here. Anything with the cable coming off like this will include the digitizer. So let's get back to the disassembly table, and I'm going to show you how to take it all apart. Okay, so like I mentioned earlier, what you're going to need is a tool either like this or like this, but this one actually might be a bit too soft. If you could use something like this, which you can get them online. You can order them from eBay. And what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to come around the edges. I've already done this one to make it quicker on the video, but what you do is you just break one of the edges open. Okay, so let's have a look here, and then what you do, as soon as you've got one of the back edges open, can you see that? Can you see that? And then you just want to come around all four sides with your piece of plastic. All you have to do is just pull it. Okay, you don't have to put any pressure or bend it or anything like that. You just, once you get it in, you just pull it, and you keep pulling all the way around. Okay, and you keep pulling all the way around here, right, and you do the same on this side. Keep pulling all the way around, and then you lay it flat like so, and the back cover should just pop off. Okay, now once you get past this bit, there's a few little points that I need to mention about what you need to do. They're quite straightforward really, but I'm just going to mention them to you now. Right, so what you want to do when you get here I just want to make you aware of a couple of cables here and how they come off. So this cable here, you want to be very careful when removing this cable. There's one screw here, you want to remove that screw, and then there's a metal bracket which covers it, and then there's a cable connector underneath. So that needs to come off. This cable here needs to come off. This is for the digitizer that comes off the front glass. So you want to take that off. I'm going to show you how to do that in detail. I'll get in detail in there. And what we want to do is, because we're going to be heating up the tablet, we don't want to have any accidents. The safest method is to remove the battery entirely. And then, you know, if you're applying heat and stuff, at least you don't have to worry about the battery exploding or anything like that. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to remove that metal bracket, and that will allow me to remove the cable, and then we can proceed to remove the cable for the battery and remove these screws here, which will allow us to remove the battery. So here goes. Okay, we got that screw out. And now all we're going to do is we're going to remove this metal bracket here. That's all you need, just a little tweezer, and it'll come out like that. You can see what that looks like. There you go. Right, now I need to make you aware of something here. Can you see? Can we zoom that in? Yep. This, to remove this cable here, there's a little flap here which needs to come up. Did you see how I just pulled that up? So you can do that with your nails if you want. You might not have a tweezer to do it with. And then basically this just comes out from the bottom here. So once that's up, you can pull that out like that. Okay. And then what you want to do is, it's just a piece of sellotape here. There's nothing else. You can just tear that off. You can take that off from here. There you go. So that's off quite safely. Next, what you want to do, remove these screws here. 1, 2, 3. We've got 4. One here. You got one here. 5. And then 6 and 7, and there may possibly be one here as well, 8. So there's 8 screws here that we want to remove, and then we should be able to just easily take this battery connector from here. So let's go. Okay, so we've removed our 8 screws for our battery, and all that remains now is to remove the battery connector and lift the battery out. So that's what we're going to do now. So I've got a pair of tweezers here. You could use a pair of tweezers, or if you've got a plastic spudger, might be safer. But I've done this quite a few times, so I'm quite comfortable doing it with this. So all you want to do is lift that up, okay? And then you come around here, lift that back from here, okay? And this battery should just pop out. There you go. Okay. There you go. That's our battery safely removed. And now we can proceed to the removal of the screen. There's only one thing left to do, which is to remove the connector for the digitizer. So if you have a look here, this cable that runs up here is for the digitizer, and it's connected into a socket here on the PCB. To remove that cable, what you need to do is there's a little no, let me show you this. There's a little a black tab here that you need to flip up. Okay, once you flip that up, you can just easily slide this out, and there's a bit of adhesive here, but that just comes off easily if you pull it by hand. It's not an issue. So I'm going to show you how we're going to do that now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to flip that up from here. Can you see that? Can you see how I flipped that up? That little tab there. So I've flipped that up, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to proceed to pull this out. So it's quite easily just pulls out if you just notice that. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to peel this off. It just peels off like this. Okay, and obviously you don't need to worry about this because you're going to replace this now. So even if you put a bit of pressure on it, it doesn't matter. It's not an issue. Right, I have tried to remove this with some alcohol, but it doesn't seem like it's coming off. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to apply some heat to that area. You could use a hairdryer or a heat gun, but be very careful that you don't damage any of the plastic underneath. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a heat gun, and I'm going to set the temperature to 200 degrees. The wind speed I'm going to set it to about 40, and I'm going to gently heat up that area, and hopefully I should be able to just pull it off. Right, so you can see that's come off quite cleanly, and it just needed a bit of encouragement, so that's fine, and that's ready to come out now. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move over to the hot plate, and we are going to proceed to heat up the front glass, and we're going to proceed to take this off. So I'll just move over to the hot plate now, and I'll show you what to do next. Okay, so to remove this front glass, what we've done is we've set up our hot plate to 80 degrees, and we've let it warm up in advance. And now what we're going to do is we're going to put the tablet down, glass side down, and we're going to leave it there for about 5 minutes, not more than 5 minutes at a time, because you don't want to cause any damage to the LCD underneath. But I've found in the past that 80 degrees and 5 minutes is just fine. You shouldn't cause any other damage to the LCD underneath. Make sure you have a mat between the screen and the metal base. That'll just give it that extra protection. If you don't have a hot plate, then what you can do is you can use a heat gun and just gently heat around these four edges, and slowly you can use a pry tool, okay, to get this off. Now when you're prying it off, what you want to do is you want to find the edge here, like can you see those edges here? You want to come in, you don't want to go in from the side here. You come in from this top edge here, and you just lift it up, and you come underneath here, and you go around the edge. So that's what I'm going to do now, and let's see how everything turns out. So we'll put it on here, okay, and we shall leave that for exactly 5 minutes. So we'll start the stopwatch, and we'll come back when it's 5 minutes. Before we get back to the hot plate, what I want to do is I want to show you what the replacement screen looks like, and I want to show you where the flex cable for the LCD is located on the back. So when you're taking it off, you know where to apply pressure and where not to. So if we take this out from here, if you have a look here, so the area for the digitizer is around here, okay, is around here. This is the area where your digitizer flex is located. So you want to be very careful that when you're wedging around here, that you don't get the wedging too deep, because you don't want to damage any of these cables. If any of these cables are damaged here, that's going to ruin the whole digitizer, and you'll have to order another one most likely. So just be careful of that. I just wanted to make you aware of that. And you can see how thin the plastic is around here. So all of the adhesive is going to be on the plastic. So that's the only place that you want to concentrate on, and you don't want to get onto the digitizer itself. You want to avoid it at all costs. Right, so we've come back to the hot plate now, and we can see that it's reached 5 minutes, and we're ready to remove the digitizer. So what I like to do is I like to turn it over, put some alcohol around the edges just to help it a little bit, just to help that adhesive a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some alcohol, and I've got a little syringe here which I'm going to use. Bring some of that up. So we'll take some of that up here, and that should be enough. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around these edges just to soften that adhesive up a little bit more. What we do is we've got our pry tool, and we're going to go in around the edges, and we're going to slowly wedge it up. The more cracked the glass is, the more careful you have to be. Luckily with this one, we've only got one crack going across here and one crack going across here, but if you had loads of cracks, you want to be careful here with the glass that you don't cut your hand or anything like that. Yeah. At this point we can switch off the hot plate, because you know, we're almost 95% there, so we don't need any more heat right now. Alright, so I've got a bit here that's being a bit difficult. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in here, put the wedging tool in here, and I'm going to come around this side here and put some alcohol inside here, which should help it. There we go. And there it is. There's our piece which we just took out. Okay, so as you can see, it's quite simple. It's just the adhesive which goes around the edges, and you just want to be careful that you don't damage the LCD underneath. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to clean up the adhesive around here. Then hopefully we should be able to just clean up, give the LCD a little wipe, and we should be able to just sit the new one on top. This tool here is a glue removal tool, and it is used to remove adhesive from the front glass of mobile phones and tablets that you are going to repair. And all it is just a motor with a thin piece of metal on it, and when you press this button here, it just spins, and it's really good to remove the adhesive around the edges. So I'm going to do that now. As you can see here, we've removed all of the adhesive around the edges of the LCD, and what we're going to do now is we're just going to give it a wipe down. You can use some screen cleaner and just give it a gentle rub down and remove all the streaks, and make sure you have it clean before we apply the new front glass. So we've managed to remove all the adhesive around the edges, and we've cleaned up any glue that was on the glass. And just as a final touch, what I like to do is get a fresh piece of cloth. I just like to give the LCD a final rub to give it a streak-free finish. So I'm going to do that now. The glass is now nice and clean. There are no streaks left on it anyway. And I'll just show you that now. It's all nice and clean, and it's ready to have the new front glass installed. So that's what we're going to do now. Now, to install this front glass, what I like to use is an adhesive called T7000, and it's used in the industry for applying glass to plastic and so forth. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put a layer of this all around the edges, and hopefully we should be able to fit the glass. Right, little tip here. When you're putting the lid back on to the glue, to stop it from drying up, what I like to do is dip the head of the needle into a bit of alcohol, and then I put it back in, and that basically, when I come around to taking it off next time, I don't have the issue where it's jammed together. We've finished applying all of our adhesive. What we're going to do now is we're going to tear off the piece of plastic that's protecting the digitizer, and then we're just going to slide it on and clamp it into place. So if you have a look here, it just comes off like so. Try and do it this way so you don't get any dust. You want to make sure you've got no dust on the screen before you put the new one on. So just be careful of that. Any dust needs to be removed, and we should be ready to go. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come around and I'm going to remove this plastic layer. Okay. This cable here is going to go through this hole just here on this corner. So before I fit it into place, I just want you to see where this cable goes through. Can you see that? That should be quite clear. You're going to slide that cable through this hole here, and then you're going to clamp it into place. To help fix this screen down, what I've done is I've used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 clamps to hold the screen in place while the adhesive dries. Now, you may not have clamps at home, but you can put some pressure around these four corners with some alternative method, and that should do the trick as well. And you want to let it dry for about an hour or so, an hour or two, and then you can remove your clamps and you can do your testing and make sure everything works. It's been a couple of hours now and we're ready to remove our clamps and proceed with the rest of the repair. The first thing that we want to do is we want to reattach the cable for the digitizer onto the PCB, so we'll do that now. And remember the little plastic flap here, you want to push that down. Okay, so we've got our digitizer cable installed, and now what we're going to do is we're going to proceed to reattach our battery. Lift this cable here, it's probably still attached. Okay, you can push that back if you want. So we've got the battery back in, and there's a little piece of conductive tape here which you want to make sure touches the battery, the metal of the battery frame, right? Okay, and then what you can do is we can come down and reattach the connector for the battery, which I'll do now. So that's been attached, and just give it a little gentle push around here. And then what you want to do is you want to bring this cable here and reattach it into the connector onto the PCB. Okay, and that's good enough. And remember, once you've done that, you've got to bring the flap here back over to lock the connector into place. There you go, you can quite clearly see that. Okay, so we've reconnected this cable and we've reconnected our digitizer cable, and we're ready now to put the screws back on for the battery. Okay, so we've just attached our 8 screws and our battery has been safely installed back into the frame. What we're going to do now is we've got one fixing bracket and one screw left to attach. This bracket here hooks on to this piece here, then it's screwed down. And we shall now install our last and final screw. We have now completed the reassembly of the entire case, and all that there is to do now is fit the back cover and test everything to make sure that everything worked. It's quite simple. All you need to do is bring the back cover over and just press it into place. That's all it is. There's nothing else. There's nothing complicated here. Just press it into place around all 4 edges and you should be fine. So here we go. So if you can see that here, watch what I do now. I'm just going to come around here and I'm going to press this into place. Right, I'm going to go around this side. Okay, I'm going to come around this side and we're going to do the same. That's it, on the top side as well. Now I'm going to leave this plastic cover on here just to protect it in shipping while it gets back to the customer. But what you would obviously do at this point is you would remove the final plastic cover which sits on top of the glass, and we're going to switch it on now, and hopefully everything worked and it's a good job. The entire procedure has now been completed, and we shall now proceed to test if our job was successful or not. The moment of truth has arrived. I'm just going to switch it on. Oh, fantastic. Look at that. Well, the whole point of this video was to show you that it's not very difficult to do these jobs. You need a bit of determination, a few tools, and a bit of graft, and you can get it done. Well, there you have it. Another job well done. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye for now, and have a nice day.